So this is the actual data here. I have taken few of the students and their roll numbers, their class, marks, and grade. The first row over here is giving what that particular column is telling about the data. Like here we do have name of the student, right? That's the reason here we are the student is giving some scope or some understanding on the below data. In the similar way, from second row to ninth row, which is available in my column B, is nothing but the roll number. So the first row is giving some insight into actual data. So whatever the data which is giving some insights into my actual data, that data is being called as metadata. So the data which is describing about my actual data. Here my actual data is from row 2 to row 8, right? And from the first row, which is nothing but the data which is explaining the actual data, is called as metadata. Here my metadata is nothing but how many columns are there. 1 2 3 4 5 columns are there. So this is my column name. That is how we term it. And what is the data type? Data type means what kind of data is allowable in this particular column. Student name always comes with characters, right? So the data type of the characters is called as char. And if we do have numbers, then we call it as integer, which is termed as int. And class, in class again we do have both. Here it has been displayed in Roman numbers, right? So it is again goes as char data type. Marks always be in numbers only, which is nothing but integers. And grade again character. Okay, so there are couple of data types available. Either it is a programming language or it is a tool. Based on that particular tool or programming, these data types are going to vary. Little variation is going to be there in the data types, but in general these are couple of the data types which will appear in any of the tool or any of the programming language. Those are integer, character, varchar, decimal, float. So what int is going to hold is all the numbers. All the numbers can be stored in a data type called int. All the characters from A to Z and the special characters that we see in our keyboard will goes under character type of data type. And both integers and characters can be saved in a varchar type of data type. All the decimal values can be saved in decimal type of data type. A float holds both integers and decimals as well. That is been called as float. These two are almost similar, and this is going to handle both integer and characters. Here we are going to have from A to Z and special characters. So what kind of data can a column is going to hold is going to define in this particular data type. So what is the maximum length that is allowable for a student name? At max we can have names up to 50 characters, but it should not go beyond 50, right? So let's take 50. Roll number, it is a fixed one, which is a 3-digit one. Class, again a 3-digit one. Marks will go up to only 3-digit. Let's take 4. And grade, again a single digit. Nullability means whether null values are acceptable in this particular columns or not. If there is no student name, then the data will not make any sense, right? So null values are not allowed here. Roll number must be there. Class also must be tagged to each of the student. Marks can be there, cannot be there. So nullable can be acceptable over here. Nullable means nothing. No value is called as nullability. And grade, so here also we can give as yes, because once if they do not attempt their exams, definitely marks will go 0, which is nothing but null, and for them there will not be any grade assigned to that particular student. So for this particular data, which one would you think can be a key column? Key column means for that whole table, that column can be a unique one. That means we can have same name for two different students, but we cannot have same roll number for any two students, right? That means we are only allowing unique values for this particular column roll number. So this is being called as key. So this is going to be yes, whereas the other things are going to be non-key columns. Okay. So what we have done here is we have defined the rules or certain conditions for my metadata. So this whole thing is called as metadata, and the place where we are going to save this metadata is called as metadata repository. So here metadata repository is there, right? Metadata repository means the data which is actually talking about the actual data with some conditions of each of the column. So that metadata is being saved as a repository in data warehouse. That section of code, that section of data is called as metadata repository. So these are a couple of key terminology which we are going to use when we talk about a data warehousing system. And let's see types of data warehouses. There are basically two types. One is transactional data, other one is historical data. What is a transactional data means? Which is changing with respect to time. Say suppose let's take stock market. So the stocks are going to change at each and every interval of time, right? uh, Now at 9:37, if the stock rate is something, immediately at 9:47 or 9:38 itself the stock rate is going to change. That means the data is changing currently. That kind of data is called as transactional data. And the data which is not changing or a static data is called as historical data. Say suppose yesterday thousand of Amazon customers bought some product. So that particular data is not going to change today. It is done and there is no change happens to that particular data. That kind of data we call as historical data. The data which is not going to change with respect to time is called historical data, and which is going to change is called as transactional data. Okay. So based on this particular functionality, warehouse been distributed into two things. One is enterprise data warehouse, other one is operational data store. So enterprise data warehouse is going to have historical data at a place, or the same warehouse is going to have only historical data which is not going to change. And to deal with the daily transactional data or the changing data, we call it as transactional or operational data store. So as I told, these are the two different data warehouses that are available. The same terminology being retermed using OLAP and OLTP. OLAP means online analytical processing. OLTP means online transactional processing. Transactional means which is related to operational data or the changing data. Analytical processing means the data which is going to use to come up with some analysis. So where we can do the analysis only on the rest data or only on the historical data. When something is changing, we can't do any decision on the changing parameter, right? So this OLAP always talks about historical data because analysis can able to perform only on the historical data, which is nothing but the data warehouse. And OLTP means transactional processing, processing the data while transactions are happening. Like for example, there is a Flipkart sale is going on. Okay, so say suppose 1,000 people are just imagine as an example, there are 100 systems available and 1,000 people are 1,000 people are hitting that 100 machines. Then they are going to face some downtime. All the servers are going to hang up because 1,000 people are pinging only 100 machines. 10 people are pinging one machine, right? That is the ratio happening. When 10 people are hitting the same machine, they could not even able to open that application also. So this thing need to be uh, taken care by the distributor, that is Flipkart distributor. Immediately they need to scale up their machines or they need to increase their machines to support the sale which they have introduced. So what kind of processing that they need to do is online transactional processing. So they need to analyze the transactional data or the real time data which is changing, right? So OLTP always talks about the transactional processing. In real time situations, there are many such scenarios where there is a need of analyzing the data which is changing or processing the data which is changing. That comes under this OLTP. If the same analysis is happening on a historical data, then it is being termed as OLAP. So basically, two warehouses are there. One is going to handle historical data, other one is going to handle transactional data. That historical data is going to be processed using OLAP techniques, which are online analytical processing, and the transactional data is undergoes OLTP processing, which is nothing but online transactional processing. Okay. Let's see architecture of a data warehouse. So we have discussed about data sources, ETL processing, and data warehouse. After that, how it is going to be used by the end user of that particular business. So this is the basic architecture, but the structure of the warehouse is going to change, depends on the business. So these sources can be of any type. The source system can be a file system or a database system or an image or of videos as well. So both structured and non-structured data can be saved on my data source. But in data stage, as of today, we can able to handle only structured data. So there might be asking what kind of source systems have you used so far in your previous projects. So we can say something like we have used file systems, we have used mainframe system, SAP system, or couple other databases like Oracle, Teradata, MySQL, and many other databases are available in the market. So we can say any of these things because they are going to have a structured format. As of today, data stage can handle only structured formatted source systems. And it can also handle semi-structured data like a JSON file and HTML files also. So those are source systems. We already discussed what is a source. Once after extracting the data from source, it is going to be placed on a server which is called intermediate storage. The intermediate storage is also called as a staging area. These terminology we need to take care because that's how they are going to use in day-to-day calls that are going to happen. So staging area means the intermediate storage that we are going to use to apply the transformations on the extracted data before loading it to a warehouse. And in warehouse, how this is going to happen is first, if it is a banking sector, they are going to prepare a model for my warehouse. For a banking business, what are all needed? What kind of structure do I need to give? What kind of tables do I need to maintain for this banking sector? In the similar fashion, based on the domain, the warehouse model is going to be prepared by the business analyst. Business analyst or business intelligence people are the one who do have more knowledge on a particular domain. Okay, these technical people might not have that much insight into business because technical people are going to involved in the uh, programming section, but very much less involved in the actual business processing. So business analysts are the people who are going to have more knowledge on a particular domain. Domain means what kind of business that is. So is my business more concentrated on retailing? What kind of business a particular businessman is holding it, that we call as a domain. And based on the domain, this data warehouse model is going to be changed. There are a couple of the modeling tools which are available which helps to prepare the structure of my warehouse, but this is not needed for a data stage developer. They are more involved into this ETL process. They will fetch the data, apply the transformations, store them in staging area. Later from staging, they are going to move the data to warehouse. After moving the data warehouse, how actually we are going to use this data is, so any people or any business people or any manager people from that particular domain, they are not going to come and see the data which is available in table format. They will only concentrate it, or they will only check the data in reports. That is, graphical representation of a data is called as report. We have seen these things in our schooling, like pie charts, histograms, or bar charts. All these things are going to give the insight in a better way, right? So say suppose if I look the data like this, it is not going to be 8 rows. The data in real time business is around in millions only. So no one come and check those million of records, right? Once after checking those million of records on the files also, we will not get anything. This data need to be represented as a graphical representation so that we'll get some insights. So reporting people are the one who will create the dashboards using the curated data which is available on warehouse. So this section of uh, part is being handled by reporting team. So there are a couple of reporting tools available, like Power BI, Tableau, Cognos reporting. So likewise, there are a couple of tools which can be used to prepare these kind of dashboards using the final version of data. So this is a complete architecture of my warehouse, and we we are going to be discuss more into ETL section, because data stage is a tool which is more involved in this particular ETL processing. Okay. So as I told, these are a couple of the tools: Informatica, Talendo, or Body, Abinshow, ADF, Azure Data Factory, all comes under ETL tools only. Now for data stage also, cloud version is coming, which is nothing but cloud pack of data stage. Initially, we'll see the older versions of data stage. As of today, data stage 11.7 is available, but it started in version 7. So there might ask a question like, what are the versions of data stage tools that you have used so far? So in 2013, 9.1 version is the latest one. 9.1, 11.1, 11.3, 11.5. These are the versions which are been using since 2013. Before that, 8 version is available, but there are uh, it is going to have pretty much low features, whereas in the advanced or in the later versions, we do have much more features. Okay. Now, quickly, let's see data stage console. I have already opened my virtual machine. Okay. So data stage is an IBM tool. It is going to have 3 main clients. These things we call as client. So data stage is being splitted into 3 main clients: designer client, administrator client, and director client. And whatever we do, perform any job or implement any job, first we need to set up a project. Okay. So to do all kind of setup or all kind of permissions with respect to access and all, we use this admin client. All the admin related work is going to happen on admin client. All the development related work is going to happen on designer client. All the scheduling or monitoring kind of work is going to happen on director client. Okay. To develop the things, we use designer. To set up this development environment, we use admin client. And to execute or to monitor the developed jobs, we use director client. Okay. So let me quickly show how a designer client is going to look. Data stage admins more use this admin client. Data stage developers are going to use this designer client, and data stage support team is going to use director client. Anyhow, all the people are going to use all the three clients, but specifically developer team is going to use or do their day-to-day activities more on designer client. Okay. So here you can see the version. I am using 11.3 version data stage. Since it is IBM product, you can see IBM InfoSphere data stage and quality stage. InfoSphere is the server where data stage is going to be installed. Okay. While using data stage, it needs to be installed, right? So that installation is going to happen on IBM InfoSphere. This is a server. On this particular server, our data stage is going to be installed so that we can make use of it. This is the area which we call as developing area, the one which I am showing now. This area, this section of area is called repository. Repository is going to have all the workarounds, like all the jobs. So whatever we are going to develop as a developer, those things are being called as jobs. If we do the same thing using a programming language, we call them as programs. But here we call the development work as a job. So the right side section of the area is going to be used to develop the jobs, and to save the developed jobs at a storage is called as repository, which is available on our left side. And this is the project name. D stage 1 is the project name. This project is going to be set up on admin client. Only after setting up the project we can make use of them. Okay. If I extend this project, I am going to see couple other folders where I can save my jobs which are being developed over here. We will go through each of these folders and why these many folders are available. In each and every project, by default, you are going to get all these folders. Okay. And at the top, you can see what is the server where you have installed your data stage. ED server is the current server which I am using. For example, this is also called as host name. Server or host name is nothing but the place where actual data stage is installed. The machine where actual this particular data stage is installed. I am connecting to this server through internet. So this is being called as host name or server name. This stage 1 is nothing but our project. So on a single server, we can have multiple projects to be created. Okay. And this is going to be give insights into which client we have opened. As of now, this is a designer client. So you can see it. This is a designer client. If you open a director, then you can see at that place as a director client. So here you can see director client. And then this is the toolbar. So this is to open a new job to be created. This icon is to open and check the existed jobs or existed items which are available over here. This icon is going to save our job. This icon is going to do all the current changes. We do Control S, right? Instead of clicking here, we can also use Control S, like how we do save other stuff in our Windows machine. So as of now, these are in disabled state. Why? Because I don't have any job. No, that's the reason all are in disabled state. Let me show how they looks like. Let me try to open a parallel job to be created on my drawing area. So now you see all these things are enabled. Once after developing a job, first thing is we need to compile that one to see any errors are there in the development or not. Later, we need to execute it. Okay. First thing is we need to develop the requirement, like extracting the data, applying the transformations, and loading the data to a final target. After that, we need to save this job. Then we need to compile. Compiling is a process where it is going to check each and every plugin that we are going to perform in our job development. And it is, if everything is looking good, then the compilation is going to be successful. Unless until we do have a successful compilation, we could not able to execute that particular job. So compilation must happen successfully before implementing the job using the data processing. Okay, and this is job properties. We will know more details into this job properties once we start developing the things. And this is for executing the job, this green button. This is for compiling the job. So let me show you how a simple job is going to look like. So this is one of the job. What it is doing is it is taking customer data from a file, then it is sorting the data and removing the duplicates which are available from my source, and then saving to a target file. Even in real time also jobs will looks like the same appearance, but maybe the transformations might change or the number of stages are going to be changed. These icons we call as stages. Okay, so we are going to have the stages over here, and we will try to understand each of the stage which are available over here. This is a source for this particular job, which is a file, and this is a sort stage. What it is going to do is this is going to sort the sort the data based on some key column, and this is remove duplicate stage. So all these processing stages are available under processing tab. And see, aggregator is going to perform mathematical calculations, and change capture is going to see the changes happening between two records. Compare is going to compare the data. Copy is going to do copy activity. So the name itself is going to give some insights on the functionality of a particular stage over here. This filter stage is going to filter the data. Join stage is going to join the data. But the thing is, we need to know how to perform those activities and how to do the plugins. Say, suppose I would like to filter my data on some criteria. In my data, I do have both numbers and characters. I would like to split the data. All the characters data should go to one file. All the numbers should go to one file. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this filter processing. So based on the requirement, we need to choose which kind of processing is going to be most suitable for a particular requirement, and we'll proceed to use them. We need to first plug in them, and we need to align the properties of each of the stage. Then we'll proceed to save, compile, and execution. Okay, if we execute a job and it is successfully executed, then we can see these green lines. Say, suppose if my job aborts, abort means fails, then the links are going to be come in red color. And if it is executing, that means if it is in progress, if the job is still in progress, still in running state, then we can see these links in blue color. We will see all those things. So from tomorrow, we'll start to develop the data stage jobs where we are going to use all these things. So while developing the jobs, I'll explain each of the things. So daily, we'll take one single requirement and then proceed to develop the job, so that we are going to habituate to this particular environment. And also you can have the practice as well, which will give more insights on what you are uh, listening over here or what we are discussing over here. So far, if you do have any questions, please come up with your questions. So far, whatever we have discussed on warehousing or ETL or the console which you have seen now. For installation and all, I can share the dump which is available on my drive, but I'm not pretty much sure because data stage installation is need 8 GB of RAM for sure. If that is not available, you can use 8.7 version, which will take very less memory so that it can be manageable even though our RAM is low. I can share the contact of the person who is going to install these installations. Let me stop the recording.